All right, today we are diving deep into a story that completely rewrites human history, and I mean from the ground up. We are unpacking the wild core mythology of the 1992 New Age book, Bringers of the Dawn. So let's get into it. So where does all this come from? Our source is this book right here, which frames itself as a series of teachings channeled from an extraterrestrial group called the Pleiadians. Now, for our purposes today, we're not going to debate whether that's true or not. We're simply diving into the incredibly detailed and powerful story it presents.
And really, the entire story kicks off with this huge question. It asks you to, just for a moment, set aside everything you think you know and consider an alternative history, one that's way more epic and honestly a whole lot stranger than what you learned in history class. This is the setup for a massive cosmic drama, with planet Earth right at the center of it all.
To even begin to answer that question, the book says we have to go back, way, way back. Long before any recorded history, Earth apparently had a very different and much, much grander purpose.
See, in the beginning, Earth was known as the living library. Now try to imagine a planet that isn't just a rock with some life on it, but a beautifully designed biological archive, a place where different species from all over the universe could come and contribute their genetic information, creating this vast, incredible storehouse of knowledge all in one spot.
And get this, humanity in this original story, we were the librarians. The narrative says we didn't have 2 strands of DNA, we had 12. And this wasn't just a physical thing. It basically made each of us a biological supercomputer. Our DNA was filled with these light-encoded filaments that work like fiber optic cables, giving us direct conscious access to every piece of information stored in that living library. But, of course, as the story goes, this perfect cosmic experiment, well, it didn't last. The library was just too valuable, and it started to attract the wrong kind of attention. This is where the main event happens, the cosmic heist.
And you gotta wrap your head around the timeline here, because the scale is just immense. The book lays all this out, placing the big takeover event about 300,000 years ago, which then leads directly to a planned awakening happening in our time, right now.
So, a massive fight breaks out for ownership of this amazing planet. New beings, which the book calls creator gods, show up, and they win. And to explain it, the book uses this surprisingly modern analogy. It was a cosmic corporate raid, a hostile, calculated takeover to seize a priceless asset, which was Earth and all its genetic data.
Now, to control the librarians, us, the new owners performed what's described as a major biogenetic manipulation. They took our original 12-strand DNA and essentially unplugged it. They scattered the information, disassembled the strands, and left just the double helix, enough for us to survive and reproduce, but completely cut off from that larger cosmic awareness.
And to make sure humanity stayed easy to manage, they reportedly put up a frequency fence around the whole planet. This thing was designed to lock us into a really narrow band of perception, one that's dominated by fear, anxiety, and chaos. And here's the kicker, the reason why. The book claims these low-frequency emotions actually act as a food source, as nourishment for Earth's new landlords.
Okay, so things look pretty bleak, right? But this isn't the end of the story, not by a long shot. The original planners, they didn't just give up on their project. They set in motion a rescue mission, a really brilliant and kind of sneaky plan to free Earth, not with force, but from the inside out.
And this is where the story suddenly turns the camera around and looks right at you. It stops being about ancient history and starts talking directly to the reader. It basically suggests that if you're even drawn to this kind of information, it's because you are part of that rescue mission. You're here on assignment.
So who is this rescue team? They're called the Family of Light, and they're described as cosmic renegades, as systems busters. Their whole plan was to incarnate on Earth as regular human beings, with no memory of who they were, kind of like sleeper agents. Their goal? To bring light, which the book basically says is information, back into the system and break the rules from the inside.
So in this story, your job isn't to fight some big war. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is way simpler. Just remember who you really are. And by doing that, you start to vibrate at a totally new frequency, one of love and awareness. You become like a tuning fork that helps wake up the rest of the planet.
And that brings us right here, right now. The book claims that the long-awaited moment for this internal liberation, this great awakening, is finally happening. So what's the trigger? The book says it's an outside event. Creative cosmic rays,
Basically, blasts of high-frequency energy are being beamed at the planet. These rays are designed to slice right through that frequency fence and act like a key, turning on all those dormant, scattered parts of our DNA that scientists sometimes refer to as junk DNA.
This whole process is called a rebundling of our DNA. So the cosmic light comes in, it triggers those sleepy DNA filaments, which then start to rearrange themselves into new helices. The supercomputer gets reconnected, and the direct result of this physical change, a massive expansion in human consciousness.
Now, one really important point the book makes is that this whole awakening thing, it's not going to be gentle. As this new, higher frequency comes online, the old systems of control, which are all based on fear, they have to crumble. This is why the book says our current era is a time of incredible chaos and confusion. It's the demolition phase before we can build something new.
Okay, so if this entire cosmic drama is playing out right now, what are you supposed to do? The book wraps up by laying out a really clear path forward, a kind of personal to-do list for every member of the family of light. The mission really comes down to these key tasks. You start by mastering your emotions, realizing they've been used as a food source. You reclaim your own power, your own sovereignty. The ultimate goal is to become a keeper of frequency, which means trusting your own gut over what anyone else tells you and making the conscious choice to transform fear into light. And this quote just nails the core idea. The entire system of control that's described in this book is built on one thing: the frequency of fear. So according to this story, the single most rebellious, system-busting thing you can possibly do is to consciously choose to feel something else.
And that's the real payoff of the mission. It's not about waiting for someone to come save you. The story says that by healing and changing yourself, you become a broadcasting tower for a whole new reality. You are the one who helps take apart the old system, just by living in a new way. And so we're left right where the book leaves us. It puts all the power and all of the responsibility squarely back on your shoulders. If the fundamental law of the universe is that your thoughts create your reality, then the only question that truly matters is the one right here on the screen. What reality will you choose to create?